Welcome, everyone. I want to thank you for being here today. This is a little bit of a celebration that we have every year. And with the inductees that go in today, will bring us to a total of 30 people who have been recognized over the years for their accomplishments here in the city. So pretty exciting. My name is Dennis L'Italian, Vice President of the Biddeford Cultural and Heritage Center, and I'm also Chair of the Hall of Fame Committee, so anything that goes wrong, I get the blame for it. You can come see me and I'll answer your questions. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee and especially the Selection Committee for coming up with this year's recipients. It's sometimes some tough decisions get made, but I think we've developed a pretty good scoring system over the years that brings a lot of the hardworking people in the city up to the forefront. I'd like to thank a couple of people before we get started because this isn't a one-man show here. There's another Dennis here, Dennis L'Italian, who does a lot of the stuff behind the scenes that nobody sees. He takes care of getting the plaques made and the certificates and the banners especially, the ones that we'll hang on the street lights, on the light poles around the city afterwards. They're pretty special recognition, we think, so it's kind of nice to get those, be able to get those made, and Dennis takes care of that for us every year. I'd also like to thank my wife, Debbie, who does a lot of the behind-the-scenes work. She does a lot of the research. She puts together the booklets you got today, the programs. She does all of that stuff, so thanks a lot, Deb. Appreciate it. Couple other people. Diane Sear, the president of the Biddeford Cultural Heritage Center. She kind of keeps us on track with all of this, and she'll be up to say a few words at the conclusion of the ceremony. And I'd also like to thank the mayor of our city, Alan Cassavant. He makes a few things happen so that we can hold a ceremony here and is part of the selection committee every year, which really helps us a lot with all of the knowledge he has of the city. One of the things, what I'd like to do is a little bit of housekeeping here, just to kind of let you know how the process is going to go here this afternoon now. And we did get started on time, which is great. It doesn't happen very often. But I'd like to describe the process of how this is going to go. The mayor will read a short biography and ask people to come up and accept the certificate that we're going to hang. And one of these certificates, and what we'll do is have you go back and actually hang the certificate on the wall, and it's right by the perpetual plaque that's back there now with all the names of this year's recipients and all those from the past. After that, you can come back up, and then we'll present you with your plaque to take home with you. It's a nice engraved plaque with a little bit of a biography on the bottom of it. It's really, Dennis did a really nice job with those. When you come up and receive that, you'll also receive a little white envelope. And in the envelope is 2 tickets to a Maine Mariners game, which you say, why would I get tickets to a hockey game? Well, the Maine Mariners heard about this program, about what we're doing, and they thought it was such a great idea that they worked out a deal with us to provide tickets for a game, and they instituted what they're calling a Biddeford Soccer Community Night at the arena in Portland. And as part of that, they're going to show, and they're going to recognize the Hall of Fame winners on their big Jumbotron screen in the middle of the ice arena. Well, we had doubts at first when we first started talking about this, but it really ties in with Biddeford and soccer and the community with all of these people. So we thought that was a pretty neat idea, and we went for it. So there are 2 tickets in there for the November 4th game at the arena in Portland. If you're inclined to go, I think you'll be happy that you did. Also in the envelope is a gift card, which we invite you to use today when you get done here with the ceremony and go out and have lunch in one of the downtown restaurants that the gift card is used for. And while you're having lunch, we're going to get out and hang the first 6 banners on the light poles around the City Hall area, so that when you get done your lunch, please come back and check out the banner. If your picture is on it, it's quite a thrill to see that on Main Street in downtown. Lastly, I'd just like to mention that we're on live today. The public access channel in Biddeford is recording this and putting us out over the air. So hi everyone. But you can see a copy of that video will be posted on the BCHC website after the ceremony. And I don't know if there will be copies available if anybody wants them, but you can probably figure a way to download those off the website once they're out there. And there's also a lot of information. If you want to look back at some of the past recipients, they're all posted on the website also, going back the whole 5 years. And that's pretty much how it's going to work. At this point, I'd like to introduce the mayor of our city, Alan Cassavant, to start the presentations.
Thanks. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for being here. This is an exciting day to honor individuals who over the years have given of themselves and made this community a better place. It's interesting because at least 2 individuals told me that they are nervous to be recipients today. I'm a little nervous too, but I get an edge. My primary care physician's right here in case anything goes wrong, Dr. Michael Albon. I have to plan these types of things. I think it's also important that we recognize Dennis for all that he's done as a lead for this. People, when you come together in one of these activities, you don't recognize or realize how much work it takes to pull these things off. There's a lot of meetings and a lot of time and so forth, and Dennis and Deb and Dennis Letelier and Diane Sear and Bob Sear, they are the core of this particular group, and they devote the time necessary to make this happen. And I think it's important because, you know, Biddeford's been rebounding dramatically well over the years, and as part of that, I think retaining the culture and the history and things of that nature is really, really important. So I want to thank all of you for doing that. So Biddeford does have this rich, diverse history. I mean, if you start peeling back the layers, you begin to learn all types of really cool things. And as we look today and see the Renaissance, it's really important to remember that the Renaissance is built on the foundation of what other people have done over the generations. Little bits here, little bits there, some big things, some small things, but all people have contributed to making us what we are today. So people have left their mark. The inductees today have left their mark. And this program is an attempt to recognize not only the people who have done extraordinary things, but also people who have done other things that might not be on the radar, but yet have connected with people. And I think it's also a chance for all of us to consider what we can do to improve the quality of life of others. I mean, that's what it's all about, really, if you think about it, to improve quality of life. And we don't have to be superheroes to do that. I don't have to wear a cape. Heck, I don't even like wearing a suit coat, never mind a cape. But we don't have to do those types of things. It's simply a matter of giving one's time and one's expertise to the betterment of others. And we really need more and more people to step up to do those types of things, especially in this world that is so polarized and so antagonistic and so negative that I think when you think back to doing random acts of kindness, those types of things, they're really important today. And our inductees in their lives have done things to have done exactly that. They've made life better for people. Sometimes when I give speeches like this, I always mention Tuesdays with Maury. And I do that because when I was a teacher, I taught for 35 years. When I taught psychology, that was the book I assigned, and kids loved it. It was only like 130 pages. That was great. They loved that type of thing, you know. Hey, Kaz, this is the first book I ever read. Well, no wonder, right? But there's a part of that. It's about Maury Schwartz, who was a professor, and there's a little thing in there where he talks about the greatest joy that anybody can get. And he talks about giving of oneself to others, taking the time. It's not material wealth, it's not the money, it's if you can do something to somebody else to make things easier, they feel good, you feel good, everything's better. So I look upon this ceremony today as a chance to reflect upon who we are as a people and to think about what we can do to improve our quality of life in our little neighborhoods, in our little worlds, within our families and friends. So what I want to do today is just go through the various inductees and talk a little bit about them. And as Dennis indicated, there's a little process to what we're going to do today. So the first one is Sarah Adams, and she's reflective of the women's labor and why it was so important. Now, I mean, all of you have looked at the mills, and some of you might be really kind of impressed with what's going on today, but some of you may never have worked in the mills. I mean, I did that one summer, and it was the worst job that I ever had in my life because it was hot, it was humid, it was loud, it was noisy, I mean, dusty, you name it. It was a tough, tough job. And in my case, my meme worked there. Meme Cassavant worked there. Her sisters worked there. Never mind, they had families to take care of and feed and all that other stuff, but they all worked there. And you all have those similar stories of people that worked there. And we forget about how individual women essentially were the backbone for so many of those processes and actually generated the wealth that the mill owners had. So Sarah Adams is one of those particular people that worked there. So she's symbolic of the workers, the female workers that made those plants hum. So the first plaque then, let me just read the plaque. Hall of Fame award to Sarah Adams, representing Biddeford women mill workers. Sarah Adams represented women's labor, work that was often invisible but was critical to the success of Biddeford's 19th century economic growth and prosperity. Sarah Adams and colleagues came to the mills to earn cash wages for the first time in American women's history. And accepting this particular award is Elizabeth DeWolf, PhD professor of history and co-founder of Women's Gender Studies program at UNE. Thank you. Okay. I guess you go right up back and that'll help you put that up. Mm-hmm. Thank you. The second inductee is Rebecca Emery. I knew nothing about her until I went to a ceremony last spring for the 125th anniversary of the celebration of the chapter. And when I saw the brochure and read her life and her legacy, I was like blown away because, again, it wasn't on my radar. In fact, I suspect it wasn't on many people's radar, and yet she left an indelible mark in this particular community. She was definitely ahead of her time. She was a tavern owner on Kings Highway at the intersection of South Street and Elm Street. And some of you, I know some of you go to school, go to the high school, for example, and drive by there every day and not recognize that that was a historical spot once upon a time. So she owned a tavern there with her husband, Daniel Smith. And when he passed away, she inherited that. Now, they were fairly wealthy because apparently in 1738, they paid the fourth highest tax in the town of Biddeford at that particular time. So there was some wealth there. But after he passes, she marries Nathaniel Ladd, and the inn that was on that particular intersection became known as Ladd's Inn. And when he dies, she runs the inn by herself. It was a place where people congregated, revolutionary era people. Even John Adams apparently stopped there somewhere along the line. And she was well known as a facilitator, someone that knew everybody. In fact, I found that she's the only woman to have a person epitaph in the old Biddeford town records. Now get this is what it says. Departed this life in the 89th year of her age. Mrs. Ladd, a noted midwife in this neighborhood, she had 10 children, 3 alive at the time, 48 grandchildren, 35 alive, and 82 great-grandchildren, 70 of which were alive, a total of 144 descendants, of whom 110 were alive. That's in Biddeford's historical record. That's quite a legacy, an impressive legacy. So today we are honoring her, and to accept the plaque is going to be Catherine Fisher, who's the regent of the Rebecca Emery chapter of the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution.
Waiting for those photographic moments. The Rebecca Emery chapter was chartered by the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution in 1897 to serve the greater Biddeford area here in York County, Maine. The members have volunteered their combined efforts in the Society's mission to perpetuate the memory and the spirit of the men and women who achieved American independence, to promote the development of an enlightened public opinion, and to foster patriotic citizenship. It is an honor to bring greetings on behalf of the Rebecca Emery Chapter, National Society Daughters of the American Revolution. We have served the greater Biddeford area as volunteers with the national mission of education, patriotism, and historic preservation. The Rebecca Emery chapter owns the Vines Monument in Biddeford Pool. That monument, thanks to the efforts of past Regent Tiesenfels and her team, is now listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The chapter has placed several historical markers in Biddeford. Biddeford has a rich history, and we are proud to be part of it, to preserve the past and shape the future. And I tell you, ladies, I freaked out when I saw that. Preserving the past to inspire the future. The chapter thanks the Biddeford Cultural and Heritage Center for all that you do, and thank you for the honor given to our namesake, Rebecca Emery.
Let me just read the plaque, which I had not done. Rebecca Emery, tavern owner, midwife, civic-minded. She ran a tavern on the corner of Jefferson and South Street. The tavern was a social center of Biddeford for Sir William Pepperell and John Adams. She had 10 children. Daughter Cora Bell Bickford formed the chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution in March 1897. Next we have Renee Burkett. I think Renee Burkett would be an unsung hero to a lot of people. I would look at her as being a keeper of history, an explorer of information, a detective of the unknown. She has assisted many in understanding local history and local stories and things that bind this community and families together. As I noted earlier, there's just so much history here just waiting to be uncovered, and it's Renee who has been at the forefront doing that work with passion and creativity and expertise. I need to mention that she works at the MacArthur Library, which is obviously a great repository of all types of information, and you can find just about anything there. And I would say that while the library is a gem, Renee is the icing on the cake. She just makes it work. So I would like to read the plaque. Renee Burkett, Special Collections Librarian, Historian, Archivist. Librarian at MacArthur Library who manages the special collections that the library holds. Her ability to assist library patrons and champion Biddeford's history in countless ways is truly astounding. Renee? That was such a quick no. I think someone's going to rival you in that, though. The next person is Ray Gagne. Now, I've known Ray for, I don't know, a few years, just a few years. But he's a fantastic example of community service. Though he was born in Biddeford, both of his parents were from Quebec. He served 39 years in the Biddeford Fire Department, leaving as chief, and the irony is that his son Scott is currently the chief of the Biddeford Fire Department that seems to run in the family. He's worked as a percussionist for the alumni band for many, many years. He does the Christmas lights. Now, everybody's been like so impressed by them, especially of late, but he and Paul Gagne and a few others are the ones that do this year in and year out. And I hate to say it, not getting any younger, neither am I, but he's still doing that. He's still giving back, all the time. And I think his legacy, however, is going to be with La Kermesse and keeping the spirit alive. He started with that organization in 1987, and he was a field manager for a while, worked his way up with other different positions, such as vice president. He would take 2 weeks vacation just so that he could go out and help on the field to set it up. He said in an interview in 2014 that he loved on Friday and Saturday nights to see the people in the crowd, some as old as 90, that would see Kermesse every single year and be part of it. And he enjoyed seeing the smiling faces, and that's why he did it. I think the article also said that when he did this year in and year out, his wife asked him, "Are you crazy?" But he said he would keep doing it until the Lord says it's time, because he liked doing it for the community. I should also mention that he was deeply involved in ice hockey, playing a little bit himself, coaching Scott, coaching others, but always being there at a critical time in the ice arena when its viability was hanging in the balance because of a number of reasons. He was there. He's always there. And because he's always there, we want to honor him today. And let me read the plaque. Ray Gagne, fire chief, tireless volunteer community organizer. Joined the call force in the fire department in 1963. First call was the Hooper Street fire, then Grafton lumber fire, and then he became a full-time fire fighter for 40 years. He played in many bands. He coached Pee Wee football, youth hockey, Industrial League adult hockey team, and broomball. 40 years with La Kermesse and decorating Main Street with Christmas lights. Ray Gagne. You want to say a few words? Oh, God. Ray does all this stuff, but he's really shy, which is a little ironic. The next is Bonnie Pothier. The first time I met her was at a dinner with Michael Quintero. Michael had been mayor for a couple of years, and then suddenly he dropped a bombshell that he wasn't running for a second term. I remember being like, what? Floored. Yeah, I got somebody, we can do this. So there was a meeting or dinner held, and Bonnie was there and several other people were there and I was there, and Michael announced that he wasn't running, and he said, you know, Bonnie, you should run. And she was like flabbergasted, like, no way, no. I want to take care of the kids, I got other things on my plate. But Michael, being Michael, persisted, and for 2 weeks bombarded her with, how about today? How are you feeling today? You want to do it today? What are you doing? You know, that type of thing. And finally, she ends up relenting. Yeah, she'll do it. So then the next step was, again, most people in the community didn't know that Michael wasn't running. There was a little meeting at my house, and a number of people were there. Bonnie was there, Michael was there, and Michael gets up and tells everybody, I'm not running for mayor. Everybody was floored. And he said, but I have a replacement. Bonnie is going to run. And an old friend of mine named Willie Palm Bryant says something, a woman? Biddeford's not ready for a woman. Who's this Bonnie? She was sitting right next to him. And I tell that story because it's important. Again, there's been a theme for the most part tonight about women and their involvement. But if you go back just 30 years, you got to understand something, that Biddeford was a patriarchal community. Women did not get involved in much. In fact, one guy, when she was running, was quoted as saying, I have enough of my wife telling me what to do at home. I'm not going to have a woman tell me what to do from City Hall. Yeah, 30 years ago. And Donna Diane was mayor, and she felt some of that patriarchal attitudes as well. And there are still remnants out there, trust me. You still hear that every now and then. But Bonnie, she was tough. I mean, she put up with that. I mean, even the La Kermesse parade, right? Think about this. La Kermesse parade, family, community. She gets heckled. Go back to the kitchen. Stay at home with your kids. And most of those comments were from women. Figure that one out. Because again, there was a pattern in Biddeford of how you were supposed to behave and what you were supposed to aspire to be. She got criticized for bringing her kids to City Hall. Her kids are here today, but I clearly remember them being in the office. Why? Because she wanted them there, because she wanted to take care of them. She was criticized for wearing jeans. You tell me, if a man did that, would he be criticized? No, totally different world. She was a superb mayor. She wasn't political at all. She simply did what she thought she was right, and sometimes that created a backlash. She didn't play that game, but she was extremely eloquent. Her memory was superb. She didn't need a script. She just had it in her head. And some of those times were really, really tough. I was in the council, so I know more about some of these things, but I'll give you a little example. I was telling this the other day when I was with some people at the Lincoln, and it was a real tough time with tax issues and so forth. And crowds would come before the council. I mean, this room would be filled with people upset about something. There was a guy sitting right over here. He had a briefcase on his knees, and his knees are vibrating up and down, and the suitcase is going up and down as well. Thought it was rather odd. So City Councilor Gary Plamondon comes over to me and says, "Alan, see that guy with the briefcase?" I go, "Yeah." "He's got a gun in there." I go, "Gary, what? He's got a gun?" "Yeah." He says, "But don't worry, I got mine." I'm like, those were the raucous days of Biddeford politics. And trust me, they could get really, really wild. But she was really tough. She handled it all with grace and dignity and perseverance. And afterwards, of course, she was so successful in so many other areas as well. And currently serving as an aide to Senator King. And I got to tell you that for me in my office, if I got a problem, I call her, because I know there's going to be an answer. In fact, there was one story of a guy, for example, that was a refugee, came here. Some of his family members have been killed over in Rwanda and the Congo area, and he's desperate to get the rest of his family here. Called Bonnie, I'm on it. And that's what she does. She cares about Biddeford just like every other single person here. Cares about the community, cares about people, and does the best she can. Let me read her plaque. First woman mayor, educator, civic-minded. On December 5th, 1989, became the first female mayor of Biddeford. Also held the first female and first Franco president of the Biddeford-Saco Chamber of Commerce and Industry. She brought recycling to Biddeford City Hall, and since 2013 has served in the office of Senator Angus King. Bonnie? Would you like to speak?
I'm a former teacher. And you know what they say, you can take the teacher out of the classroom, but you never take the classroom out of the teacher. So if a teacher gets a chance to speak, the teacher speaks, right? I have to say, it was particularly heartwarming to me to be chosen this year of all years because unlike Alan, I did know who Rebecca Emery was, and the reason I knew who Rebecca Emery was is that when I was a senior in high school, at Biddeford High School, I was honored as Miss DAR, and everybody said, "Miss DAR, what's that?" So I quickly learned about the organization and spread that word out, and so it was a real heartwarming thing to see that I'm up here with her. Also, I was born at Weber Hospital, and so I knew the story of Weber, obviously. So you talk about the connections. Those are just two, but there are many, many more. Let me begin, first of all, by expressing my deep gratitude to the Biddeford Cultural and Heritage Center and to the members of the Hall of Fame Committee. Your tireless work, dedication, and passion ensure that the history of Biddeford, in all its complexity, remains vibrant and known. It is an incredible honor, truly, for me, a privilege to receive your Hall of Fame recognition. This places me among an esteemed group, both, as you can see, some are dead and some are living. That's an old Beatles song. I know my grandkids know that song. Some are dead and some are living, who have left their mark through their work in manufacturing, healthcare, government service, education, culture, and so much more. I look at all of those who have been honored so far in the last 5 years, as well as my fellow honorees today, and I see us all as threads that make up the rich tapestry of Biddeford. I so look forward and can only imagine the inclusion of others, new Mainers who are now entering our community and helping our community once again be the thriving metropolis it used to be in York County. You, the Center, and the Hall of Fame, your motto, preserving the past to inspire the future. I can't think of more apt words to encapsulate the work that you do. Preserving the past to inspire the future. The Hall of Fame shines a light on the stories of our people. The only drawback that I can see is the number of stories that are told. The truth is, it takes so many individual stories, as Alan said, big and small, that combine to form the bonds of a strong and vibrant community. Finally, I wish to especially thank my 3 children, Kendra, Barrett, and Byron. As a single mom just trying to do it all, well, I'm sure it must have been difficult for them at times. But here they are, my pride and joy, joining me in this celebration, along with my sister Mona, who's here, representing all my brothers and sisters who couldn't all be here. We were, kind of limited, and so I maxed out the 10. So Mona's representing the rest of the family. My son-in-law, Eric, who is really my 3rd son. That's the way I think of him. And of course, my 4 grandchildren, Emmett, Evelyn, Cordelia, and Theodore. My life has been rich and full. It has been a labor of love for all of you and for this community. Thank you.
Now, last we have Moses Weber. I too spent some time at the old Weber Hospital, and now I don't recall meeting him, even though I might be of that type of age, I'm not sure. But anyway, I remember spending some time with getting tonsils or visiting somebody or whatever, because Weber Hospital was so central. That's where you went when you were ill. But what Moses did was rather extraordinary in that he donated $40,000 towards a free hospital in 1906. This was a hospital that would have MDs, actually trained doctors, as part of the facility. Now you got to remember, 1906, you're not that far removed from quackery and strange medical practices. If you think back in the Civil War, when amputation was a standard cure for anything that had happened to your leg or And you think back a little further with George Washington dying because they purged him a little bit too much. I mean, medical practice wasn't exactly ideal. But Moses believed in a science-based medical staff, and this money was for that. And here we are today with an extraordinary facility with great doctors and nurses and staff. I remember it was, I don't know, 16 years ago when I had a heart attack and going into that facility, and all of a sudden, you know, bam, people were taking care of me like I was king of the world. Of course, I was obviously not really too keen on knowing what was happening to me at the time. You know, it was kind of like, you know, not a big deal. Well, it was. But the care that I received there and the care that thousands of other people received there says something about the philosophy, not just of Moses, but of the current administration, where they emphasize friendly care and attentiveness and quality of service. Let me read the plaque. Moses Weber, benefactor of Weber Hospital. Moses worked in the Pepperell Mills and Laconia division. He died in 1899 and bequeathed $40,000 in memory of his wife Eliza toward a free hospital for the people of Biddeford. First Weber Hospital opened in 1906. On behalf of Moses, we have Chief Medical Officer of Southern Maine Healthcare, Dr. Michael Albon. Thank you, sir. If you want to say something.
Oh, sure, sir. Want to thank Mayor Cassavant, want to thank the members of the committee that selected Moses for recognition. I came to Maine in 1995 to work at Southern Maine Medical Center, and my patients started talking to me about going up to the Weber, and I didn't know where they meant. So I looked into it a bit and learned that, yes, the Weber, as most people were referring to, is that the building you see there, which eventually became York Manor, so went on as an assisted living after the current facility opened in 1979, and that's where we still are today. I think that Moses' story is inspiring. The idea, I liked Alan's comments about we should all be looking to do things to try to improve the community around us, help others around us. Moses was thinking legacy. He was thinking long term. The $40,000 he left, I looked it up, it's about $1.4 million in today's terms. And he established something that continues to this day, And I think one of the things that I know that the staff, the nurses, the providers at Southern Maine Healthcare, which is what we are now, appreciate is the support and the warmth of the community. We really feel that on a daily basis. When you get to times of crisis in your health or in our community, like with COVID, the value of having this type of facility, these resources in the community becomes all the more apparent. And actually during COVID, Southern Maine Healthcare was treating not just members of our community, we were receiving patients with COVID from elsewhere in Maine because we had the expertise, we had the knowledge, we had the skilled and dedicated folks to provide that advanced specialized care. So again, want to thank everyone on behalf of the staff of Southern Maine Healthcare for this recognition. Hope to see you all there when under good circumstances. I'm from away, but all three of my sons were born at the current facility. Timmy Butler, my wife, is an OB-GYN, so you know, an obstetrician that had her own children delivered there. So I think that also speaks to all of us there feel pride in the services that are offered. So thank you all. Thank you, Mayor.
before I turn this over to Diane Sear, I want to again thank you for being here, because I think this is the largest crowd that we've had ever, and it's just, I think the program's growing. And if you have more questions about the Biddeford Cultural and Heritage Center and want to participate, certainly next week, and Diane will probably give more information on October 1st on a Saturday, there's an open house where you can actually see some of the artifacts and documents that we've been able to accumulate over the last several years, and that's pretty cool. Last thing, and again, I really want to mention once more that if you take anything away from this ceremony today, is think about not only what these individuals did for everyone else, but what you can do to make the world a better place. I mean, that if there's a lesson to be learned, it's that. And I think collectively, it's so important that we do that, because the world sometimes is a real messy place. So, thank you. Diane?
I want to thank you all for coming today. It's a really special time for all of us, and I really appreciate all of you. I'm really excited about all the people that were nominated this year, because I pretty much have a personal connection with every single one of them in one way or another. I'm a retired nurse. I was a candy striper at the Weber. I started in 1979 when it was brand new. I'm just so happy. It was so nice to see all the smiling faces, all the family support, everything. Thank you so much. We are having an open house next week. You are all welcome to attend. It will be from 1 to 3, so it is in the middle of Saturday afternoon. It's October 1st. And if you're interested, you can come and you can learn more about our programs and see the archives. The archives will be open. And at the community center, that's right, on Alfred Street, the old high school. So again, I want to thank Debbie and Dennis L'Italian for running this whole thing, Dennis L'Italier for all his hard work with the signage, Alan, as usual, you did a great job, and Michael for being here, and the whole committee. It's not an easy process to select these people. We can only pick 5 or 6 a year. It's been a hard job, but you all deserve it. Thank you.
That's it. If there's not a good way to wrap this up, this is it. I'd just like to mention a couple things. The 6 banners will be up within the next hour, hopefully, and you can check them out, see what they look like. And during the next week, we'll get the rest of them up, so Main Street has a lot of them from one end to the other. And I'd just like to mention, for anybody who's really sharp and really notice a spelling on one of these banners, it will be corrected. I'm not going to bring it up because I don't want to get in there, but it will be corrected. Thank you all for coming.